everyone. Welcome to my report about Chinese literature. In this lecture, we are going to discuss about the history, the dynasty, and the famous Chinese literature. This topic presented by me, Joy J. Pascual. Thank you.
But before that, let us all define what is Chinese literature. It is a body of works written in Chinese, including lyric poetry, historical, didactic writing, drama, and fiction. Chinese literature is one of the major literary heritages in the world, with an uninterrupted history of more than 30,000 years, dating back at least to the 14th century BC. It reflects the Chinese culture and it includes various literary genera from Shang Dynasty up to modern era. Chinese literature was made consist of true feelings and have the freedom to use any kind of format and patterns. And now, let's talk about the history or the four periods of Chinese literature: the classical literature, modern literature, contemporary literature, and the present age literature. First, the Chinese classical literature refers to the earliest period and cover works from 3,000 years ago to the late Qing dynasty and is virtually unbroken strands during dynastic changes, written in ancient form of language that is very different from present day. It needs to be carefully studied to be understood. Next is the Chinese modern literature. Refers to the period from the Opium War in 1840 to the May 4th movement in 1919. Opium War is the war between two wars in the mid-19th century involving Anglo-Chinese dispute over the British. People observed the impact of Western, though as foreigners toured China and established their colonies, novel, poetry, and other works began to appear with the theme of patriotism and revelation of social literature. Then, the contemporary literature span period from 1990 to the foundation of modern era in 1949 and took a new vigor despite the fact that Chinese was in the checkered and complicated times. And lastly, the present age literature evolved since the establishment of the People's Republic in 1949. During this time, there was a logjam as a consequence of the Cultural Revolution that lasted for near 10 years. That era is now long past, and we have a favorable turn events and a great number of responsible written works. And now, I will going to discuss about the dynasty or the era in literature of China. Shang Dynasty. This dynasty is a development of Chinese writing. It is the first dynasty, hieroglyphic writing in bronze wares and oracle bones, and it evolved into a geographic and partly phonetic Chinese characters. Here are the examples of oracle bone script. The Su Dynasty. The basic philosophical and religious literature. It is the oldest dynasty, and major literary achievements originated in the late spring and autumn period of Qing State period. Qin Dynasty. This dynasty is known for literary disaster and legalism. Mohism is a big philosophical religious school. Li Si is a Qin emperor who introduced a writing system and developed into modern Chinese writing. And legalism is a philosophical school. The Han Dynasty. This era's major contribution were historical texts and scientific work. Sima Qian wrote historical records, or the major history concerning the overall history of China from Shang Dynasty to Han Dynasty, while Kai Lun is the first person in the world to create writing paper. The Tang Dynasty, or the early woodblock printing and poetry. Du Fu and Li Bai is the China's greatest poets. Li Bai is known of one of the greatest romantic poets, while Du Fu is the greatest realist poet. The Song Dynasty, or the early woodblock printing, travel literature, poetry, scientific texts, and the Neo-Confucian classics. There are 5 classics and 4 books written in the classical language. Later, we are going to talk about the 4 books. Shen Kuo and Su Song are both work scientific theatres. Shen discovered the concept of true north and magnetic declination, while Su Song are famous for his hydraulic powder astronomical clock tower. The Yuan Dynasty, or it is the drama and great fictional novels dynasty. Guan Kanqing is one of the best playwrights of the times. Midsummer Snow is one of the most popular drama pieces in this dynasty. The Romance of the Three Kingdoms and The Water Margin are the 2 of the 4 greatest novels in Chinese literature, while The Romance of the Western Chamber by Wang Shifa is the one of the best romantic dramas ever written in China. Ming Dynasty, or known for the best novels. Journey to the West by Wu Sheng'en is based on the historical journey of a Buddhist to India. Later on, we will talk about the journey to the West. And the last dynasty is Qing Dynasty, or the novels and pre-modern literature. Manchus established the last dynasty. The Dream of the Red Chamber are the last of the China's 4 great classic novels. And now, we are going to talk about the 4 famous Chinese literature, or the 4 famous classical novels in China. The Water Margin, Journey to the West, Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and The Dream of the Red Chamber. These 4 novels from the core of Chinese classical literature and still inform modern culture. Dating from Ming and Qing dynasties, these 4 novels are the bedrock of Chinese literary culture, and these are among the world's longest and oldest novels, and they are the most read, studied, and adapted works of pre-modern Chinese fiction. Water Margin was the first of the 4 classical novels to be released. Published in the 14th century, the title has been translated in a number of ways, including Outlaws of the Marsh, Tale of the Marshes, All Men's Are Brothers, and many more. The novel Water Margin by Shi Naian details the rise and fall of a group of bandits during the time of the Song dynasty in China. Among the themes addressed in these novels are the abuse of power by officials and the unjust punishment of the loyal. Much can also be learned from the novel about the customs and the habits of the early Chinese people, as well as their thoughts and belief systems. The second famous novel is The Journey to the West. The most influential of the 4 classical novels of Chinese literature, and certainly the most widely known beyond China's borders. Journey to the West was written in the 16th century by Wu Sheng'en. It depicts the pilgrimage of the Buddhist monk Huangshan to India, and his resultant travels through the western provinces of China, accompanied by 3 disciplines. The story is based on Buddhism. The novel draws on a host of China's folk tales and mythology, as well as the pantheisms and Taoisms, or to create its fantastical cast of characters and creatures. These creatures includes the various demons who Guan Shang encounters along his travels, and a variety of animal spirits who assume human form. This latter category includes the three disciplines, who are characterized as a monkey, a pig, and a river ogre, and who are bound to Huangsang as they attempt to atone from their past sins. The third classical novels is The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, a historical novel which recounts the political interest and the dishonesty within the Three Kingdoms period of Chinese history. Romance of the Three Kingdoms combine the history, legend, and mythology to tell the exciting story of this era. This epic tale was written by Lua Guanzong and incorporates 100 of characters, weaving a multiple complicated plot lines in its portrayal of the disintegration of a unified China into three waving kingdoms, the three states of Cao Wei, Shu Han, and Western Wu, and their eventual reconciliations and unification. The last but not the least famous literature in China is The Dream of the Red Chamber. Written in the mid-18th century during the Qing dynasty, Dream of the Red Chamber was the last of the four great novels of Chinese literature to gain prominence. It is a semi-autobiographical work which focuses on the financial and moral decay of author Cao Sushen's family and by extension of the Qing dynasty, recognized for its formal beauty and innovation. Dream of the Red Chamber was spun a scholarly field of its own, pedology, which is still thriving academic subject in China. The novel is markedly more precise than its fellow classics, and it offers an incredibly detailed rendering of the life of 18th century's Chinese aristocracy, paying particular attention to the complexities of social convention of its exoteric world. The novel is thus a repository of those interested in Chinese culture, granting reader an insight into religious, social, and political world of upper-class China. It also offered the insight into a wide variety of aspects of Chinese culture, from medicine to mythology and art, all of which continue to inform contemporary culture in China. Thank you for listening. Again, I am Joy G. Pascual, reported about the Chinese literature. Thank you.